It's recording.
Okay, click on participants, please, down the bottom, Tom.
Okay.
Okay,
Carrie wants to get in, can you let her in?
Oh, you did. Yeah. Who's there, Carrie?
okay. It's 1:20 p.m. This is the monthly meeting of the Dayton Stormwater Committee, Wednesday, June. How did that date come up? Is this the correct agenda? This is June 21st.
I got August 16th. I got August 16th.
Have that, please. Thank you.
Here with that background, the way you saw that.
2023, again, 1:20 p.m. I've called a meeting to order. We're in the Old Town Hall, upper level meeting room at 1111 Somerset Avenue, Dayton, Mass. 02715. This is a public meeting being video and audio recorded for posting on YouTube. This is a Zoom meeting. The site is https://us02web.zoom.us/J/852-326-29725 PWD equals capital U MCZ capital U 002 BM capital RXT I9T capital OW lowercase h through capital R small k capital N 4 capital O capital J M capital UT09. The meeting ID 852-3262-9725. And the passcode is 653787. And the phone number is 1-309-205-3325 US. I'm sorry for the delay. We had problems with getting into the Zoom, and we have at least three, I see two right now, individuals. We may have somebody else joining from the Grasshopper Project. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Is this okay?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America.
Yes.
And to the republic. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank
For
you.
37, map 24, Ryan Fisher,
What are you looking to do?
building plans. I'm gonna submit them
Because this is a hybrid meeting,
that.
We have to ask them.
Gotta get Lisa's signature.
Okay, Lisa's not here. She's in a meeting next door.
Okay.
She won't be back.
can you
until-
mute Carrie?
Can you mute it?
What's saying tic-tac-toe?
30.
See that little
I don't have
right
any.
there?
Because this is a hybrid meeting, I will take attendance and we'll need a response from each individual, and all votes will be roll call votes. Attendance, David Phillips,
Yeah.
Lisa Caldonia,
Yes.
Tom Ferry,
Yeah.
Robert Woods,
President.
Nancy Goulart present, Jim Agia, absent. Another thing from a procedural standpoint, Heather Nikora, who is taking the minutes for us, has a sign-in sheet so that everyone who is present, if you could sign in and just either put your street address or an email address, because she's brand new and she needs to know who the players are and who's in attendance. So this is here, and if you take a quick check if anyone's missing, if you want to pass it around again, that's fine. Okay, looking at the agenda, I see we have
Yeah, they're up and running now. Because
We have a representative from Clearway Solar. Anybody, I don't see anybody for Brook Street Solar, Grasshopper. I don't know if he said he was going to attend, but he's not there now. We have 485 Tremont Street.
Is Greg still the representative? No,
He's from Mercy.
okay.
If you can
He's
hear
a resident. Okay, all
me.
right.
Sorry.
We have two representatives from Maris Lane, Ms. Daly and Mr. Souza. Is it Greg Souza?
Yes.
Greg or Craig? Craig. Heather, if during the course of the meeting you need a name, just get my attention and we'll get it, so you'll have it for the record. 485 Tremont Street. Okay,
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I didn't realize you were here earlier. I would have taken that.
okay. I know everyone's time is important and valuable. I know we have abutters here for the Brook Street project. Is there anyone that has to get out of here quickly?
I gotta be out by 3. I gotta say.
Well, you're not on the agenda. Talking to her. Okay, so I would like a motion to take agenda item 5B, Clearway Solar, out of order. Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion, second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Mr. Phillips, Ms. Kelly, Mr. Ferry, right, and I for me. So the vote's unanimous. Clearway Solar, would the rep from Clearway come forward, please? David, can you take a mic and?
Yeah.
Could you push that thing closer to? Oh, that doesn't work. That one, it's the one, it's the full, it's the full one, yeah. Just introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Louis Cruz and I'm with the Energy Group. I'm the site construction manager representation for the owner.
Lisa. This over to me. Go ahead, Mr. Craig.
Yes, ma'am. Am I to give an update on the project? Okay.
Yes.
So right now we have all the modules installed on the racks out there. We've got the wiring that's taking place, wire management as it's called. So they're running all the ground wires right now and they've got all the conduits installed. And they've got the strings pulled through them. We know the conduit runs the length of the cable that'll have to be cut and pulled through there. And so they're continuing to do those activities. And the last thing that we'll be doing is putting in the infiltration trench. We want to make sure that there's not too much traffic coming across it. So we don't want to install it now while there's still traffic out on the site. And so we are making good progress. We're about 85% completion. So the wiring is the big issue for us right now. And we're continuing to have two contractors that are doing that for us and they're doing a fine job so far.
The infiltration trench that you're talking about that will be done at the end. I realize obviously they're going across the property to do the work that they have to do, but when it's all done, is the infiltration trench outside of the driveway area? They won't have to cross it?
They won't have to when it's done. That's
Okay.
correct. It's going to run the entire length of the road, but on the outside of,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Yep.
Any questions from the committee regarding the Clearway Solar Project? This is the one behind Arujos. Anyone in the audience wish to speak? Yes.
Francis Christopher, 1730 Wellington Street here in Dayton. I'd like for you to amend your minutes from last meeting to reflect the fact that I had issued a complaint to the Stormwater Commission based on flooding from the property, from the project property onto my property, as well as into my basement. And like to just understand a little bit more from the experts here applicable to the continued flowing of water and, conditions that I should expect going forward.
Okay, before we get to that, I need that what you just said, a statement in writing. Because what we will do is when these minutes come up for approval today.
Okay.
I will mention a proposed additional information. And the committee will act on whether or not they will accept that into the minutes. And then there'll be amended minutes. So because they are official and they are the public record, I will need that from you.
Okay.
Okay?
And just for the record, I had issued a correspondence to the town, to the Stormwater Commission. Oh, you're using your personal email versus town email. So I believe some of the other folks got it. I'll resubmit that if you like, and I'll include your personal
The
email.
last meeting you sent something?
No. When I had originally issued a complaint to the Stormwater Commission based on the flooding that I did on, I think it was July 5th or 6th.
Okay,
I know you received it and I think you got it from Lisa.
yeah, I.
Woods,
That's when I talked about what my email address was, and I'm sure I got it. I think it was forwarded to me, but I will look back July 5th to 6th for our email.
I'll resubmit it with a return receipt just so I can.
Okay, that's fine.
Received.
Okay,
That's it.
so what questions do you have relative?
Just to hear from, our town experts applicable to this situation continuing and, additional mitigation. It seems to be getting better now that they've done the riprap and it looks like that's a little bit higher. So the additional redesign, but like to hear a little bit more as to what I can
Okay,
expect.
do you want information from the rep from Clearway, or are you talking?
From the town, in terms of, you guys are the ones that govern this project, right?
In order for us to give you an updated, I'll say opinion, we need to make a site visit, which we can arrange. Okay, the last site visit I did, I believe it was before Todd Pilling left. Because I had made several up to that point. And I don't know if anyone else has been out there. Because for one thing, it would be within.
But I'm there, she's
Okay, how recently were you there?
on France.
Okay,
Well, Tom might have been there since.
Sunday it was, water is flowing pretty good.
It's going to.
Probably you can do a follow-up visit since then.
Correct.
You requested a response from us in relation to that southwest corner.
Correct. The part that's flooding, my property and my basement.
What the info for that?
okay,
Certainly, if you like, on days that it rains, those are the days to come, because that's when it's happening. It happened Sunday.
So our main concern here, because the project is in development.
Mrs. Caledonia, if I could just,
Go ahead.
what is the last date you're going to reference of a visit?
July 6th.
Okay, July 6th.
We had multiple significant storm events before that.
Okay,
And we've been reviewing we get weekly inspection reports. So from a wetland conservation standpoint, there's Clearway has hired a wetland scientist
Okay.
to submit. And it's been going on the whole length of the project, well, since they went into the local area and we required them to,
Right.
so. They walk the whole perimeter, take photos, and basically tell Clearway what they need to do to fix things.
Okay.
So they are, in essence, working for us to review it. So from a erosion control inspection standpoint, the erosion control has been issues recently, but not in that area necessarily, that needed to be repaired. So those have been repaired in the past couple of weeks. However, when I did the inspection, I know Tom was here. We found that they are in the process of designing, building the segmentation control, the permanent ones, right? So they still, all of these have now is temporary around the site. But the permanent basins are being constructed. So that's pretty close to being done. Yeah.
Okay.
But in the meantime, what you're gonna have is you're gonna have water. And the water, as long as it's not carrying any sediment into the wetland, that's good conservation, conservation standpoint. I care about, right? So. I've inspected it for that, and we told them, hey, you might want to make these changes over here, but otherwise there's really no issues about conservation.
Okay. And what about illicit, and maybe Tom will speak on the illicit discharge of water, onto abutting properties?
I don't see that there has been any illicit discharge of water, because illicit would mean that there would have to be some pollution in it, correct?
Yes.
We didn't, when me and Todd inspected numerous occasions, we didn't find anything like that. We didn't even see any scouring in the woods over on.
Have you done any ground, it's increasing the water table in the ground. Have you done any research or studies on that? I don't know if that's something that their consultant has done.
The base, so when they got their approval from the town, multiple boards, planning board, stormwater conservation. All of the consultants and the stormwater agent that were involved made sure that that plan as designed, and it's on the engineer to make sure that plan as designed would not create any discharge of any pollution onto your property. So
Okay.
you're saying you have sediment on?
Not sediment, water, just, the water's flowing. I mean, it's getting better as things have changed. But that July 4th storm, that was coming right through the rock wall
I think
and percolated in my basement.
basement probably had one from the basement that.
Yeah.
If I may, I'm going to pass around some pictures. I'm going to say 2 weeks ago, we had gotten the weekly report and there was mention of some repairs needing to be done in the silt socks and some other areas. And you responded to the gentleman, when is the work going to be done? And the response was, it's going to be, they had started work on it, was going to be wrapped up that day, which I believe was a Monday. And so attached to the report, later in the day when they finished it, these photographs were sent. I had these printed. These pictures will show repairs made to water control, existing silt socks and so forth and so on. Right.
So again, maybe my terminology is incorrect. So what I'm basically here talking to the Stormwater Commission with is I'm getting water in my basement where I never had that before. Only every time in the 21 years that I've lived here came in through the window. We had that big flood when my yard was flooded. But now I'm getting groundwater and there's a crack in the foundation as a result of some of the vibration and the water's percolating in through there as well.
You were going to send me pictures. I
We- the-
could have repeated.
Yeah. That will come at some point, not right now.
Well, without further evidence, all I can say to you is the people that have gone out on site and based on your comments at the last meeting,
Mhm.
you told us the water was running parallel to your property. That indicates it's not going
No,
on your property.
Coming on my
You
property.
used the word parallel because I questioned it.
All right.
Now, those pictures that you sent videos with water running.
Correct.
We couldn't, at least I could not determine, looking at that, if it was going on your property.
There were two pictures included with those videos that showed it on my property, landing on my property, which is, at a lower elevation. And I believe, and I don't remember if I sent it to Lewis or if I sent it to you, because obviously this is ongoing. I did include some pictures and I believe those were the pictures I don't think that you got because of the use of your.
I got both videos and I got photographs.
The photographs had pictures of my basement floor with,
No, I have never, ever seen, has anyone from the committee gotten pictures of his basement? So based on your statement about the water going onto your property and into your basement, we've repeatedly asked for evidence, pictures, whatever.
that will be forthcoming. I can't,
And when it's forthcoming, we can discuss it. At this point, all we know is that the former stormwater agent had been out there doing inspections numerous times. His position was the water was not going on your property And he didn't go into your basement, but he didn't get evidence that there was water going into your basement. So this has come up this is now the third meeting. We don't have anything more to go on other than what you're saying. And I'm not hearing from the two people who've been out to the site that they saw clear evidence of what you're describing. Now,
I'm able to resend those pictures, I will.
we raised the issue with Clearway.
Mhm.
And their response is that water is not going on his property. Now, all I can tell you is if you are going to pursue damages that are involved with Clearway and you want us to get involved without more evidence, I don't know where we go. And I will state also, if your claims, concerns, whatever, reach the point of a civil matter,
Mhm.
this committee will step back because the town will not get involved until it is actually contacted through the litigation process.
Absolutely.
Okay?
And you only govern surface water or you govern below surface water?
Stormwater.
So the water naturally goes below your house, crosses the corner of your property.
Right.
Naturally, heads south towards Wellington Street from there. Right, so they're not changing that historic path of that.
But it's just way more. I mean, it's, that July 4th storm, there was a foot of water there. Those are the pictures that I had submitted.
Just so I can clearly understand, so they create more water? than-
Absolutely.
than what's there now,
Correct.
and how do you see that happen?
I mean, you saw those pictures. That was all, the water was just going to that back corner, the front corner in this case.
It's possible, it seems to be more water because there's no vegetation stabilizing, you can see more of the flat area.
Well, that part of my property is all vegetated. I mean, now there's, a foot of standing water there.
The active construction site's not, so I'm asking, is that what you probably see?
Possibly, but wouldn't that be under your control to avoid?
Head northwest towards Somerset Avenue. Enter.
The water's still going to get treated before it leaves, and it's natural course, yes.
During construction, of course, you're gonna see, I mean, we don't have the trees there, right? Soaking up.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we want the basins to be built as designed, because we leave it up to the engineers to do their engineering work. So if you're saying that the engineers didn't, you can hire your own engineer. To look.
I mean, I don't really, I just kind of, want the stuff to stop.
I just want to back up and
So again, those are,
you're talking past tense about water running and pictures that were taken, all of that. When you started speaking today, you said things have gotten better. So my question
They have.
is specifically, from what you described, past tense, pictures and water and all that other stuff, it's gotten better. How has it gotten better?
I only had one flood in my basement.
Okay, again, we have no evidence of flooding in your basement. So
Okay.
at this point, we can't pursue that.
Understood. So I just want that, noted for the record, and when it's the appropriate time to provide you those pictures, I will.
Well, if you're going to bring it up at the next meeting, I would like the pictures before then, because I'll send them out to the whole committee.
Okay.
But we've discussed this 3 times now. I have asked for those pictures about the basement repeatedly. There was discussion about water in the basement when Todd Pilling was still employed. And we keep bringing this up, but it's like, we've got nothing, at least today.
Mhm.
Because of the emails that we got and Mrs. Caldonia saying, when are you going to get those repairs made? And those pictures, the work was done, the pictures were taken, and I actually have something that I could share with everybody. I know that the areas that were talked about in the weekly report, through these pictures, the repairs have been made, so forth and so on. So that part, as far as this committee is resolved, the pictures back up what they said they did in the report that said we got to do work on the silt socks, the runoff controls,
Okay.
whatever. So
I mean, just for the record, I would note, I still have concerns. I'll address, pictures and documentation at a later date when I'm able to. do
okay,
so.
I need the wording if you want to amend those minutes. You don't have to do it today. If we,
Well, I'll send you my original email that basically said I had,
no, you made a request today. I want it in writing.
Okay.
Now, the minutes of the last meeting on here for approval. I'm going to assume the committee is going to approve them the way they're written. That does not prohibit you from sending something in writing,
Amendment.
requesting that the committee reconsider those minutes and amend them according to whatever you're setting forth. That way, from a procedural standpoint, the committee can look at whatever it is you're saying. They're going to have to recall whether or not that was part of it. And I think we had that meeting on, no, which one? Last one we
That one's posted.
phone. Anyhow, it should have been recorded. So even if we didn't have the video, but anyhow, the committee can act on that request.
Okay.
You don't have to write it all out today. But I would request that for the next meeting, whatever it is you feel you can share, that you bring it so that everybody can see it. If you can send it ahead of time, that's fine. I'll send it out to the committee.
And if I do have additional concerns on, nights, weekends, holidays, do I call you directly to say, hey, it's flooding? I have concerns. You haven't been there in 6 weeks, since July 6th.
If somebody is available, the other thing I will point out, there are members of this committee who are employees of the town.
Mhm.
All right, and if they're called out on weekends or other times, they're entitled to overtime pay.
Understood. Coincidentally, that's just kind of when it's been happening. So,
Those of us who are not employees of the town in this particular instant, it's a different situation, okay? But yeah, if you have a problem, yes, call,
okay, understood.
okay?
I would just ask you, Louis, I don't know if you can add anything more about if you guys have been there on the weekends and nights and holidays to,
So
see
if-
what's happening and
so-
documenting that this problem has.
address your question to the chair.
Could Clearway provide some additional information as to their observation of the property, during rain events?
All right, so pick a rain event, the last one,
Sunday,
okay? Mr. Cruz, do you wish to respond?
Before he does, can I say?
Yes, go ahead.
Also, part of the requirements from the stormwater community, the SWIP, the stormwater pollution prevention plan. So on every site, large solar project in particular, we require SWIPs. So SWIPs are signed by all the contractors that they understand them and they actually have someone doing those inspections. So in this case, we have, what is his name, Jason?
Jason?
Jason doing the inspection. So Jason is per the SWIP, doing them once a week and after or during a significant rain event of a 1/4 inch or more of rain. So technically, those reports are all public information. Right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, at one point I was getting updates from the project and after I left, that kind of stopped.
Okay, I'm just going to comment on this. If I were an employee of Clearway and a abutter had threatened legal action, I would not be responding either, because once litigation is threatened, and I can tell you this as a former selectman, that changes the rules. Okay.
It was coming from the town, not from Clearway.
I'm saying to you right now, I'm asking you repeatedly for evidence that you say exists so that we can respond. You have failed repeatedly to give us anything other than your descriptions, and yet you tell me you have photographs. All of that, if it's being withheld because you intend to take action, which is your legal right, then discussion at this point is going to stop. Because in effect, if you say, I'm suing the Stormwater Committee, I'm suing Nancy Goulart, bottom line is, when we're acting in the capacity of an appointed committee of this town, when you say you're going to sue the committee or a member of this committee, you're really going to file suit against the town of Dayton. Therefore, as you know from even newscasts, when somebody says, oh, there's litigation, we can't talk about it. That's basically the facts. So again, we're willing to work with you and give you information, so forth and so on. All right. But again, if I were an employee of Clearway and the intent is we're going to sue, I would assume whoever their legal counsel is also going to be saying, hold everything, guys. All right. Give your reports to the town as you've been doing. outside of giving those reports to the town that are public information, don't make public statements if we're going to be sued. I mean, that's just how it is. So, I just want you to understand that.
Similarly, I think we've, pursued this, as reasonable human beings. And again, I have some other things going on right now and I'll address your questions and provide the pictures when it's deemed appropriate.
Okay, fine. Okay. Mr. Cruz, did you want to address anything else? When Mrs. Caledonia brought up the SWIP plan, did you want to add anything?
No, we have been having that going on for quite some time now, for almost the duration of the project. And the SWIP inspections happen, as Ms. Caledonia made clear to everyone, that, after a quarter inch of rain or more, we come out immediately afterwards and there's an inspection done. We also have a SWIP qualified employee on site who goes around and looks as well. So we actually have 2 inspections going. Mr. Warren.
Oh, okay.
Has a SWIP certificate. So
Okay.
we have a couple of inspections happening. As to the water, I can't speak to that, other than, we felt like we have maintained our compliance with the SWIP program and with the stormwater program as we were instructed to do so, and we'll continue to do that.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Anything further? Mr. Christopherly? Okay, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Okay,
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to take an agenda item 4C out of order.
we have a motion to take agenda item 4C, Maris Lane drainage problems out of order. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Phillips, Mrs. Caledonia, Ferry, and Nancy Goulart. The vote's unanimous. Mrs. Daly, did you want to come forward? Mr. Souza, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. When you came in at the last meeting, you made a brief statement about problems with water flowing, and you had sent some pictures of water and rocks and things. So you want to now give us details on
Sure.
what if you could have been spoken at the last meeting, give us your information now.
So in the front of my yard, after the sidewalks went in, I started getting the rain, water, storm water that you see in some of the pictures that I sent you. That problem is becoming greater because it's coming around towards the house. And I think I sent you those pictures. So that problem hasn't been solved as of yet. The rock wall, when it first went in, we got a lot of silt runoff, but a silt fence was put in. So now it's just rainwater. It's no longer dirty. So it still is very wet there, which it hadn't been. And so those are my 2 areas of concern.
Has anyone made a site visit to, what house number are you?
So I'm 23.
I took a ride down.
Okay,
Yeah,
was it
and
dry weather or wet weather?
it was a few days after the storm.
Okay,
And, I did notice some pooling over at Craig's yard.
where does,
A little pooling.
Little.
Mr. So what's your house number?
I'm 15 Maris Lane.
Right, and I also noticed that the new rock wall, which, in my opinion, is an ugly looking wall.
But we're here to talk, does it work? But it doesn't work.
Well, sure is unsightly. Like, that's not what we're doing here, deal walls, but,
Was there any flowing water when you were there? You saw water, but I'm assuming it was laying there?
yeah, no, I went a few days after I heard from Mrs. Daly. I had planned on going immediately, but something, I don't know, something came up.
And then I forgot, and about 3 or 4 days later, I said, I was with my wife actually driving down the road, and I said, oh, I gotta pull in here and take a look. So her yard, I did not see any pooling at that time, but it was like 4 or 5 days after the storm. But there was still water in Craig's yard. So I've seen a lot more water in Craig's yard in the past. I've seen it all the way up into his garage that's under the house. And that's all I saw.
Do we have any idea what the flow was before the sidewalk got involved or before or after the sidewalk? Are we talking about the normal flow of water in that area, or is this something else? The time that I went to Maris Lane was the sidewalk was in. And one of the conditions we saw was there was some, we went because there had been runoff that contained silt. And we were there to talk to them about stopping that. So we looked at catch basins. There was silt all the way out to Center Street. It was my understanding, excuse me, they corrected those conditions. Now, there was also talk of building additional homes. Were additional homes built after that site visit? Were there 2?
All the,
2 on the left and then 1 in the rear. So lots. You want the first houses on the left and then lot 5.
5, 8, 9.
Okay, so the one next to you, is it 25 or what is the number?
So it's lot 5. I'm lot 4. I'm 20.
I'm looking for a house number. You're 23,
Yeah,
27? Are you here for Maris Lane? Okay, do we have your name on the?
And he's the latest developer.
So you're not a resident of Maris Lane? Okay, all right. So if you wish to speak, just give me your hand and you can come up to the podium. Okay. Mr. Souza, would you like to make a statement or give us any information?
Sure, if that's acceptable.
Yeah,
So I'm 15 Maris Lane. I think what Jess is suffering through and what I'm suffering through are unfortunately 2 different situations. I'm going to just speak for my home. Right, wrong, or different. Whenever the lot on the side of me, I'm not sure what the address number is, but when was developed and they cleared the trees, I started having a influx of stormwater during rain events. It used mostly to be during the springtime, but now it is just unfortunately worsened to now anytime you get a sizable rain event. Rick has tried to mitigate it as best he can. I know he put in a trench line of riprap and 3/4 stone. Unfortunately, it has not rectified the situation. Like I said, at this point now, it's happening almost every time it rains. I mean, I'm not sure what else to do with it. So I'm guessing, I guess that's why we're here, to be honest with you. But it's not a small pool of water, as some there can attest to.
is the water that runs onto your property clear or is it silted?
It is clear.
And
Well, I'm sorry.
does the water, how long does it take for it to drain?
It depends on the time of year. If it's springtime, obviously, but the ground's still a little frozen. It'll last multiple days. Now that I'm starting to have this happen during the summer months, it does dissipate within a day or 2. That's about average. Like I said, the springtime, it takes multiple days. In the springtime, I have to pump it out, or I can't get out of my driveway because then it freezes over and it turns to overlay.
Have you gotten water in your basement?
No, ma'am.
Have you?
Not because of what's going on here. I'll go back. So Craig and I abut each other. When we bought our homes, there was an easement between the 2 of us with a pipe that was going to run under the street to the retention pond. When they put that pipe in, it was set too high, so no water was running into it. It was running
Yeah,
into
sorry.
my basement.
Jess, the whole problem stems from my home being incorrectly built. Let's just say that. So then that easement that Jess is referring to, the elevation was wrong because my home was too low, which then Jess, you can take it from there. I'm sorry.
So Craig's house is too low, my house is too low. So then they got rid of the pipe in between us and put an easement behind my fence line through lot 5, number 27 to the retention pond. And that was before any of the other 5 homes were built. And it worked. I haven't gotten water since that one time. But when they put the sidewalk in, it's high and our lots are low. And Mr. Bissett got this problem because of previous builders. But my problem is that it continues to creep towards my house from the front yard. So that's one of the problems. And again, lot number 27, the leaching field is as high as my bedroom window, which is part of what the plan was. But the plan was also that my house would be higher. So my house was built too low. He followed the plan to put in the leaching field. So now there's a 4-foot rock wall, 4 or 5 feet rock wall, and a silk fence that's taller than me.
The 5 homes that were added were not part of the original development, and this gentleman is involved with the 5, but not the original.
The development has gone according to plan as far as quantity of homes, locations, and Rick has done his duty as far as following what was originally submitted to the planning board. Unfortunately for him and for everyone, I just don't. There's never been a proper adjustment to take into effect that the homes, there were some issues with the way some of the original homes were built, the initial 4. Once I'm sorry.
So the 4 homes have been there for 9 years. The last 5 homes had been there for 2 or less years. So.
Mr. Bissett, yes, if you would like to come up and just state your name and your company, please. Sure.
Rick Bissett, Northeast Building Company. So just to clarify, as Craig pointed out, the last 5 homes that were built were all part of the original subdivision plan. And the sidewalk that went in and the road that went in, the binder went in prior to our taking it over. We're tasked with finishing it for the town and for the previous 4 neighbors and the current 5 that we built. So we put the sidewalks in accordance with the plan that was approved by the planning board. We have there's no wiggle room. The sidewalks are not going to be omitted. They're required. We've had them inspected by the ADA compliance officer for the town. He quote unquote signed off on them. He made a couple of modifications out towards the street, towards Center Street, which we did. So Craig's issue is not so much with the sidewalk, because the house itself is high enough that we can get the water out over the sidewalk, and we've done some grading on the front yard, correct? Craig?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Sidewalks are not an issue for myself.
The sidewalks are not an issue. So the issue with Craig is it's got a drive in the garage, and it probably should have been a garage at grade level on the side, but that's no pun, water over the dam. The pipe that I'm sorry, Jessica referred to, that was put in subsequent to the 4 houses being built and prior to the 5 that I built. There's a lot of opportunity with those pipes. So we've been prepared to shoot some grades. I discussed it with Tom. I discussed it with Jim Aguirre. It's been raining. We haven't been out to pull our transits out in this weather, but that pipe,
It's actually two pipes.
two pipes.
Yep.
As they approach the corner between lots 4 and 5, Jessica's house and the one at number 27, there's a manhole there. I talked to Tom about possibly taking one of the covers off and making it a catch basin. That would relieve some of the water that runs from lot 5, number 27, down around the back of that wall. The invert of that pipe is low enough, just casting a blind eye, is plenty low enough to be able to put that they could put a yard drain anywhere on the side of their property and drain it to that pipe. They could do this. Is that mine? I'm sorry. The same thing can be done in the front yard. I'm sorry, the same thing can be done in the front yard of their house. We had talked about that briefly when we had met out at the site one time, and it was kind of nixed because the town didn't want any water going into the subsurface drainage system. They wanted everything daylighted, and that was not possible. So upon further discussion with Tom, that's a private drainage system. That all drains back into the holding pond, which is owned by the HOA. So I guess, Tom, I don't want to speak out of turn here. That would still be an option, right? Because now it's not the town. You guys don't want stormwater going in.
So of the project, when it's accepted, it's still gonna be under the HOA's control, right?
The pond itself is. The pipes, I guess, from conversation with you, that's a town issue. But they're gonna be your issue regardless.
The ones behind the houses with that, I believe that's all gonna be HOA.
Probably so, yes, the new ones,
So
right.
That would have to go through the HOA.
Well, I'm the HOA right now, so you have permission to
I'm
tie into
also
that.
very glad that you're explaining all this, because you're spot on that discussion, and I think you're explaining it a lot better than I could.
Okay, so the third issue to address is Craig's issue with the driveway, not with the sidewalk. So Jessica has two, one in front and one on the side. With regards to the ugly wall, there was never an intention to build a wall there.
Excuse me,
Ugly wall.
With regard,
the ugly wall, yeah.
it was never called for a wall to be built there. We started doing the septic system and we're looking at the grades, and what's supposed to be a grade differential of about 1.5 feet is about 3.5 feet. So we had to do something. So we took the rocks that were in the back that were stockpiled there from the previous guy, and we lined them up along that property line so that we could control that water and get as much of it as possible flowing. It always flowed to that area between Jessica's land and our land. We had to build that up. So we built it up and built the wall so that we could get as much of it flowing towards the street and towards the street on two sides, and keep as little of it as possible going over that wall. If you look at it now with and the silt fence won't be there forever too. That's only there, Lisa can attest to this. The silt fence is only there until the ground stabilized, so that the water that does what little bit goes over that wall is clean, and we're not carrying all the loam that we just put down over the wall. Once the grass grows in, silt fence comes out, and any water that goes anywhere will be clean. So we have to get a grade from the back of Craig's driveway, the low point of probably the whole neighborhood, and a grade at the invert of those two pipes, Tom, that we talked about behind both of their houses. And my gut tells me by just walking it that there's probably enough pitch there to put a drain at the end of the yard and get it into those pipes.
Probably just, yeah, I think.
I just have to shoot the grade and verify that. And I know you big on pictures and facts, so I'm just giving you my humble opinion. And I think there's enough of a change in elevation there to make that work. And we've tried everything else, and I can't raise this house up. And we switched the leaching field from what was originally proposed to the back of number 7, the house closest to Center Street from Craig's. We switched the leaching field from the back to the right side and went 3 times in front of the wetlands, in front of the Board of Health to get that approved so that we could make the backyard lower and wouldn't put him in more of a bathtub than he was already in. And it still wasn't enough. He's still getting wet every time it rains. We converse and he sends me pictures and so the possibility of a pipe at the end of his driveway to get that water out to the back is, I think, still, I think those 2 pipes in the back can take all that water in some way, shape or form.
Well, if I may, they're designed to take that water, to be honest with you. It's just, my concern remains the same. Any corrective action needs to follow, to me, the plans that are already in place. So if we're gonna put a pipe in, it needs to follow the easements that are already in place. I'm not gonna have a drainage pipe that essentially is not my fault, traverse my entire property, making my backyard, useless.
Are these pipes that we're being discussed as potential resolutions to the problem, something that have to, different from the original plan and that the planning board would have to know about?
The pipes are in, the 2 pipes that we're looking at are already in place. I believe this was prior to my coming on board. I got to imagine that there was some modification made.
They were adjusted on the plans that were submitted to the town, and that's at the registry of deeds as well.
Okay. So obviously this is going to be on the agenda for the next meeting in September. If you can do the work that you're describing as far as shoot the grades and whatever, and you've been working
I'll go over that with Tom and
with Mr. Ferry and Mr. Aguirre. That will be part of the report, and then we'll know whether or not this is going to help with the problems.
So it's usually some gray areas that happen, so the developer doesn't own these properties anymore, the residents own them. He's willing to work with them to help correct the problem, but it's whose problem is it? Is the residents that own it, the developer? And then the first, those 2 pipes we were talking about, draining the front yard, that water is going to be going under the road eventually, right?
Well, the water right now is just trapped in her front yard.
Right.
There's no way out. Even the driveway is
So
like,
next to the 2 pipes that's essentially handy at this time.
So the 2 pipes are behind my house. Should I get up?
Yeah, how does it get there? And then when
It doesn't.
No, when it gets there, how is it gonna get there and where's the water gonna continue? Is it always gonna be off of town property in the future?
So the only thing I can think of is there is where's the grate called? The grate that the water goes
catch
into.
basin in front of your house.
Yeah, there is one in front of my house.
Right.
So if a pipe could go in there,
Talking about.
but it would have to be put in.
But that would discharge into the stormwater system.
The private stormwater system.
Yeah.
But it's,
It's a
it's
waste
and the pipes that are at the head wall on the back of my yard are going into the stormwater collection system as it is right now. Everything goes back to the retention pond, the street, as well as the pipes that are in my yard.
Correct.
Okay. I'm looking at the clock and I know we got a pretty hard deadline of 3 o'clock, but this is going to be on the next agenda. The work that you described, we're talking with Tom and Jim Aguirre, all right? Is only at the discussion point. Once the information is gathered, it will be determined whether it's a town problem or the neighborhood HMO, all right? If suggestions are made, they are only suggestions. The town will not say, you got to do whatever, unless it directly affects the town, all right? So I don't want anyone to think
We don't.
this committee is guaranteed to solve the problem, and especially if it turns out to be private property and not what we're looking at. So, I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, the town's going to straighten this all up. No, we're going to continue to look into it, to do what you have suggested, to get the information that's needed. And that will be brought up at the next meeting as a report. And in the meantime, we can determine who owns what and whose water and whose pipes and everything else. We have to be careful because of the fact that there is private property involved. And this all has to be looked at, okay?
And while I understand that, I never had the water in my front yard until the sidewalks went in. So we're just left with it.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying,
Okay.
Mr. Set has talked about things that he's had discussions with.
It's sidewalk and then have to, yeah,
Correct.
I mean, they could take, normally they would just tape it down, loom, whatnot, the water still be trapped there. But it's too grade and it's built the steps. It was something that he inherited.
And I agree with you that he inherited it, but
So when I look at the past, we're trying to resolve, so I just wanted to say, so you want us to create an actual plan and wait for the next meeting before it's acted on?
Well, if, for example, this information is gathered, the site is looked at, and it's determined that Mr. Bissett ideas will work, and it doesn't affect town property or town drainage systems or stormwater rules and regs, and the property owners involved don't have a problem, they're free to work with him, all right? By the same token, if anything is determined to be part of a town system, then that falls on you within the parameters of what you can do. Now, if you can do stuff, when I say you collectively, if he can do stuff before them based on the information he gathers and the property owners are fine with it, it's fine with stormwater. If a situation arises that truly involves the town, that's a different situation. As I said, that's your turf. But in any case, for the next September stormwater meeting, it would be good to know, we shot the site, we were actually able, this is Mr. Bissett's turf now, we were actually able to determine that if we did this, we could alleviate the water here or the driveway problem and the water that's lying, and the property owners agree, then the problem is solved. All right, so no, they don't have to wait for us. They have brought this to us. It's clear that there was an initial development and that problems from that carried over to the new developer who bought the problems. And now they're bringing this to stormwater to find out where do we go from here and what do we do? And
So I understand Jessica's property pretty good, so what do we need to do, what's happening with Greg's?
well, you talked about the driveway and
Well, I want to get an elevation at the lowest point of his driveway and the invert of those two pipes at the head wall behind where those two properties meet. Just because of his
Can I-
property.
Well, that's.
Just for my own education, if I may ask a question, is the street, and I'm not sure if anyone here is going to know this, is the stormwater that's generated from the street, is the street going to be the town's problem or is that the residents' problem? So like this, if there's problems with the stormwater collection or the basins or anything like that in the future, whose responsibility is that going to fall under?
That's probably already written in the instrument, you haven't told them on that at town meeting, and that's, we would be voting on.
Okay.
And on that, she might know that already.
Harry, is Maris Lane accepted or is it in the works or nothing?
Well, the works haven't gone out yet. So
Okay,
when they go out, it'll be in the works.
okay, so it's currently a private road.
Correct. That I agree. I was just curious once it becomes a town road.
Like, so the way, the road layouts are, but the drainage basins and fields are the homeowner's responsibility.
So I again ask the question, has Maris Lane been accepted as a road?
Not at this time.
So in the case of Maris Lane, the town hasn't accepted it and the determination about the drainage system has not been allocated to potentially two owners?
No, the drainage system, whatever the end result is going to be, has already been decided when the planning board accepted it. It's not official yet because the town has not taken it over. Whether the pipes in the road belong to the HOA or the town, well, I guess it could be changed, but it hasn't, that's already been put to bed when the planning board accepted this thing. I don't know what it says, but it says something.
Yeah, I was under the assumption that we were, well, from reading the plans specs that are available at the registry of deeds, I interpreted it as that the town was responsible for the catch basins and the road, and the HOA was responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the retention pond.
That's typically
I
the
could be wrong.
way it would
Okay,
go.
that's fine.
Whether or not the road is accepted
Yep.
by the town.
No, until
Once
the
it's
road is
accepted.
accepted by the town.
Yes.
It's a private road. I have to maintain everything.
All right, that's what I said. Right now, it's private. The determination or clarification or whatever you want to call the drainage system has not been definitely said it belongs to the town or the homeowner to maintain it. So the entire project, I think is safe to say, is still private. Okay, so
Correct.
so anyhow, what we're dealing with right now is trying to come up with or get a progress report at the next meeting. And maybe it will be more than a progress report, depending upon what the elevation determines and what the property owners you're dealing with are amenable to. But certainly, you're not going to be held up by us if in fact you have a solution that the property owners agree will work. But we want to know about it because obviously they came to us and involved us with the initial problem. So does anyone on the committee have any questions about this? Because we really need to move on. But we will hear this. This will be again in September, and hopefully the weather's going to be dry for a while so that this work can be done.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
As far as the wall goes, the initial rocks were put in and then rocks were just put on top, not secure. And I'm concerned, like, that one of the rocks is on my property, that if a child is moving along, I mean, Lisa saw, who do I go to for that?
If there is something that has been constructed that you have safety concerns or other concerns about, I would start with the building department, ask them to look at it.
Thank you.
And if for some reason that's not his, he will, I would assume, refer you to the appropriate
Thank you.
thing.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
very much.
Thanks, Rick.
Quickly, agenda item 4A, Strawberry Field status. From what I understand, this is being heard. Mr. Mullen mentioned to me that it was being heard and that the town is being represented.
November,
Oh, it's off until November?
yes.
Okay.
My concern.
So the hearing is in November. All right. Mrs. Caledonia, we're going to leave this off the agenda for the next meeting. Unless something happens, and if something comes up that you can tell us about, just let me know and we'll put it on the agenda. Other than that, we'll wait to hear from you. If it's a November hearing, we may not hear anything until December, but that's how we'll do it. 485 Tremont Street land disturbance. Mr. Alves should come up. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, 485 Tremont Street.
So this was brought to our attention because of the amount of property that has been disturbed. The town has a stormwater bylaw that says if you disturb 35,000 square feet or more, you need a stormwater permit. Disturbance can be anything from cutting down trees to actually bulldozing and filling and whatever. So that's a disturbance. Another concern is that the area has been designated as the home of rare or endangered species. Is that correct? Okay. So the first thing is relative to the amount of disturbance that has occurred. It appears more than 35,000 square feet. All right. So you need a stormwater permit.
Okay.
All right. And you would apply for that through the Board of Health. Okay.
Okay.
And they will, if you contact the Board of Health, they will let you know what information they need as far as describing the project and whatever whatever you're planning to do there.
Okay.
Okay, Mrs. Caledonia, do you wish to address the Concom situation with rare or endangered?
Yes, so we wrote a letter to Mr. Alex, he and I made phone tag a little bit, so we was responsive right away. So basically, there's a polygon here, it doesn't tell you what. I did speak directly with Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program, and whether this wetlands are gonna be a separate issue from Natural Heritage. But basically, any work in this polygon area would require you to file Natural Heritage. And you didn't, so that's a violation. But then we also, when I do the site visit, I want to look to see if you're within 100 feet of a wetland or within a wetland, then you're required to deal with conservation. So you very well may be, but
Okay.
I don't trespass, so I'm asking you for permission to go on your property so that I don't have to just force my way over and look at it myself.
Absolutely.
I'd rather have your okay to do it, so I wanna look at it and see. Do you know where your property boundaries are
Exactly, no,
approximately?
approximately, yeah.
Okay, so if we walked up there together, me, you and one of the other members, and maybe Tom might wanna walk with me, and we could look to see, I could do a quick look at, you know how far back you cut?
From the house or from the street or
Yeah. From the house.
probably maybe 150 feet.
Okay. So, yeah, so anyways, we're just gonna have to look in the area in the rear, because there are wetlands back here, and I'm just not sure where they are. But there are wetlands. So. I hope you're not in the wetlands with the cutting, and I hope you're not within 100 feet, because we usually require restoration. So that's why we kind of want you to.
It's kind of like up to the front.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I've stopped since I got the letter, so it's to the front of there was a bunch of trees the trees were already taken down years ago, and I just removed some of the stumps. It's to the front of the shed, which I believe is roughly 400 feet from the street. So I didn't know until I got the letter. I went on and looked to see where the wetlands were.
The area of disturbance is not from the street. Okay?
Yeah, that's how I figured kind of where the wetlands are.
Call it the back, I'll call it the back part of the property.
Yes,
Okay.
you did.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
So you kind of understand what.
A little bit, yeah. I've been trying to educate myself on it as much as possible, but like from the street, if I believe like I did it correctly on the GIS, it said the wetlands were roughly 475 feet from the street.
So just so you know, the wetland layer that's on that GIS, I tell people all the time, it's gonna be, I'm gonna like say on my deathbed. That is like going to TikTok, the news. You can't look at that map.
Okay,
It's literally 95% of the time wrong.
okay,
First of all, second of all, it's always the wetland scientist or the conservation commission that determines where wetlands are. That's why there's actually a profession, wetland science.
yeah. Okay, well, again, I've stopped all of the as far as any cutting or filling or grading or anything like that. Maintaining on the other side of the lawn, I was thinking I can continue to do. Yeah,
Because that was existing. One thing to keep in mind, if there is fill out there, fill carries on with consecutive owners, so. Say you bought the property recently or someone bought it from you, they'd be on the hook if there was fill in the buffer zone. Cutting, however, cutting is a different story. Cutting doesn't have, so filling has doesn't have a statute of limitations, and cutting does. So cutting's kind of like, if you were to sell it tomorrow.
yeah,
That new owner, I wouldn't really be able to enforce things as far as the Wetlands Protection Act, but under the local bylaw, yes. So there's a couple of things, natural heritage, it's local conservation bylaw and the Wetlands Protection Act. And there's also the stormwater. So there's 4 items where you might be in violation. You might not be in violation of all of them.
Okay, and where is the natural heritage, you said, as far as the violation of the natural heritage is where roughly on the property is it?
Show you this. You can have this if you want. So this is roughly the line. So if
Okay.
you walked to the back of that
Right there
house
is, yeah.
and then you look this way. Oh, this is your lot right here, right?
Yeah.
So if you kind of knew where this house was, well, it kind of shows your shed there. So
Yeah.
anything behind your shed.
Okay.
Did
There's some
you
stuff
go
that was
beyond?
already existing. There was already a garden and stuff existing there, so that would have already been from the previous owner.
Yeah,
Would that be a violation of the natural heritage? That was already there, where they were disturbing.
like cutting, filling, yeah, we're talking about like. So just stop doing what you're doing and next week, I think you and I should set up this thing. Maybe we can set it up right now.
I was going to recommend that before you do anything, including applying for a stormwater permit,
Yeah.
is we really need to determine the area of disturbance, okay?
Okay.
That the site visit take place, that any additional information that we can provide to him. Did you get a copy of the stormwater bylaw or any?
I printed a couple. I just don't know if it's like 2008 or 2009, what bylaw.
They haven't been revisions. They have not been revisions since then.
Okay.
Right. But sometimes when there's a site visit, there is more information given, there's clarification, there are questions by the committee. And there'll probably be more than one. I would like to go on the site visit, Mr. Ferry, either of these gentlemen, and we have another member if he's available. We'll set up a site visit and send it out, and whoever can be there when you're present, so that we can get information and ask questions. Once that's done, and she can make a determination about the issues that Mrs. Caledonia is a conservation agent. She represents the Conservation Commission on the Stormwater Committee. So quite often, when something is brought to stormwater, automatically she has to look to see if it involves anything relative to conservation. So she has a dual role in this particular case, but she's really going to focus on the species and things like that. She obviously is going to be part of the discussion on stormwater, but just so you understand what the connection is with all of this, okay?
Yes, thank you for the explanation.
Okay.
In regards to natural heritage too, if there was already like grass and stuff that was back there, it's only been disturbed because if it was already grass there, I was just gonna reseed and just grow grass. It was already grass back there.
The aerial photos,
Yep.
so we can go back and we can see, like, when did you start doing this work?
Well, it's been going on for 3 years, but as far as like any like grading and filling, this like April, maybe April.
So, but we can go back years. to
Yeah,
see.
as far as what's in this, like,
And that was long when I bought this house, I
Yeah.
could actually see that.
okay,
So I wouldn't worry so much about that. I'm more worried about like the wooded area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
And did I send you a copy of the regulations, the web?
you did, yes. I've been trying to educate myself on as much as possible.
Okay.
In regards to I'm sorry.
So as she said, don't do anything else, obviously you can mow your lawn but don't plant and don't dig and don't seed and don't cut. And we will get something set up so that you can get some direction and know what you can do, what you can't do, what you are required to do and what you're not required to do.
And that's now, Nancy?
Give me a couple of dates. I don't have my calendar with me. What time of the day is better for you? Mornings or afternoons? And any day of the week that's better than others?
Mornings and any day of the week's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so we can. do We do, Wednesday, the 23rd, or Thursday, the 24th in the morning,
Wednesday's fine for me.
23rd.
Is the 23rd is the Wednesday?
Yep. Can we do 9 AM?
Yes.
I'll get back to you, Lisa, but anyone on the committee that would like to do the site visit, and that time works for you, just get in touch with Lisa.
Yeah.
The location is 485 Tremont Street, and there's a good sized sign out front with the numbers on it. It's just beyond the Ray Terrace turn
It's the third house on the left.
Correct, yes.
from Gray Terrace.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Including the one.
It sits back from the road, but the sign is out there. You can see it.
I had a question in regards to the stormwater. As far as who determines it was more than 35,000 square feet, because a lot of it was just that right side. It's not more than 35,000 square feet.
We will look at the maps that are, not maps, the photographs that are accessible. For example, the Board of Assessors has new software that can go back a number of years. It's called Near Map. And it can show the progression. In other words, if we went back 5 years, it would show you what's there. And if you want to follow it through, you can see and this provides both winter and summer images, so you can see with and without leaves. But a lot of that is going to have bearing on, because we'll be able to see from those, that succession of photographs.
Yes.
What is there, if you've got a shed or something else out back. And in your first picture, it's not there, but it turns up later. Again, the assessors use it for being able to look at property. But other than that, it'll be actually what we see on site.
Okay.
Important would be boundaries. And she did ask you about your property lines.
Yeah, there's a tree line on both sides, and then once it gets into the back, there's like a
Yeah.
stone wall and stuff, so.
I'm assuming this is a long skinny lot.
Correct.
Okay, so anyhow, there will be, I'll say, visible, paper print, evidence that you can look at these, pictures. And she has, and we don't use what she just said, don't use. I can tell you that the assessors got the, software. I'm gonna guess now, we've had it over a year, so maybe a year and a half now. But it does allow the town to go back and look at properties to show what's there, what wasn't there. If a tax bill goes out and somebody says, I don't have a swimming pool anymore, it's easy to just go in and boom and see, there's no pool. Was there one there last year? Because you want to make sure that the person is not being taxed for something they no longer have. So anyhow, it does provide, if you will, historical pictures. So that will be available also.
Okay, so until that's determined, I don't need to file a stormwater permit.
No, wait for the visit.
Okay.
All right. And Mrs. Caledonia will be talking to get information specifically about her concerns. And we can go from there. Yeah.
Okay, and kind of off subject, but I heard the gentleman say it earlier, as far as who's responsible for stormwater that comes from like the street, because my entire front of my yard since I bought the house has it floods. Like probably the first, it's kind of far off the road. It's like house is like 200 feet off the road, but the entire probably first 50 feet of the grass on both sides completely floods. Is that something that's my responsibility? It comes off the road, the way for 465 right next door, and then I believe 505, and then maybe a couple of houses further down, they do the same thing. They do the same thing.
I would say street drainage questions, you've got to refer to Mr. Ferry because he's highway department.
Okay.
All right. And since that house has been there a while, he would be more familiar with that.
Okay.
Right?
We did a pipe in front of your house on the side of the road, right?
Not that I know of, no.
And we need to let the water, if there is, that's, yeah, you kind of need to keep that clean. I believe
It's on the street on,
it's in front of your wall. I think so. It just doesn't show it well.
okay, yeah, it's fine.
You might be the property next to you, but I'll give you my card. Well, I'll probably be in next week.
Okay.
Let's do it then. Let's walk that through. That road is combination country drainage. Everybody gets some.
Yeah.
And there's some basins to help get the water off the property that's building up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions or anything?
Yeah, it's not a bit, I just heard it brought up earlier, that's why I asked, so it doesn't, it's not like it gets close to the house or something, so.
We all set? Any questions, comments, or anything else? If not, excuse me?
23rd at 9.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I gotta look at home, but I'll be in touch with you definitely. Let's see. All right, agenda item 4D.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming in. 4D, 959 Hart Street drainage pavement problems. Are you here for that, sir? Would you come up to the podium, please? (959) Hart Street is listed as Mr. and Mrs. Gregory Sylvia, and I understand you're here to speak on their behalf.
This is so, it's my daughter.
Okay, and your name, please, and your address, street address.
Where I live or the property I own up there.
No, your address.
All right, Duncan Harvey, 865 Leeds River Avenue, Somerset, Mass.
Okay.
How you doing? Where I know you from.
The number again for Lee's River?
865.
So let me just go back here. So, Mr. Sylvia, Greg. He talks about having some problems. And I think this was a voice message that was left and then it was converted into a email. It says 959 Park Street. I believe it should be 959 Hart Street. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what happens sometimes when a computer converts a message. So this email was sent to Mrs. Kerwin in the selectman's office. Morning, Leanne. My name is Greg. Sorry, question mark. Again, I'm only reading what the computer put into print, so bear with me. I was out at 959 Park Street, which we know is Hart Street, which is the last house on Hart Street on the left side of the road. I've been having a difficult time with the street from my house. I've been asking for 5 or 6 years now to be maintained and fix the drainage issues that has not been completed yet. I don't know if it's ever been booked. I was just wondering if I could get somebody other than the DTP. Other than the DTP going to be directed to go up there and take a look at what I'm speaking about. I would appreciate a call back. And maybe we could set a time to meet up there and discuss, and you guys can see firsthand what's going on. Again, it's Craig Sylvia, 959 Hart Street. And then he gave his phone number, which I am not going to read. I got in touch with Mr. Berry, the highway superintendent, and I have a number of pictures here. So my first question is the area that Mr. Sylvia is talking about, is it part of Hart Street that is accepted by the town of Dayton?
No, there's about 75 feet there that's accepted.
But
When they paved Hart Street, the last time they paved, they stopped 75 feet from where it was supposed to be.
that's not my question. My question is the area he's talking about part of Hart Street that it has been accepted by the town of Dayton?
Yes, part of it is. The other part, I granted it, I'm the owner of the other part, 954 and 955 Hart Street. Actually, 959 Hart Street was part of my property. I deeded 2 acres to my daughter.
Okay.
And when they built the house there 7 years ago, the town asked to put a turnaround at the end. I granted the town an easement in writing to put that turnaround at the end on the property. For the
Okay,
buses.
I got to stop you right there. This is what we're talking about, and I will pass this around to the committee. I believe This is the turnaround that you're talking about.
Probably, yes.
So is this your son's son and daughter, or is that the,
I own both sides of the street.
okay,
The turnaround is right here.
all right, that's the turnaround. That's what's identified on the aerials that we have.
Right.
So I'm going to pass these around to the committee. So the town road does not go down to that turnaround. The accepted town road does not go down to that turnaround.
It comes where the turnaround starts. Right? Not where it's paved, the town road. The town road. There was a gate across here that was put in there by Brown, or whatever is Brownie. And when they paved the last time, they didn't pave this piece here is accepted.
Okay, so I'm passing these around to the pictures to the committee so you can see what this turnaround is. So one of my questions to Mr. Ferry was, where does the road end? Did the town get an easement from the property owner that would allow the town to pave up to that turnaround point or create the turnaround or anything else? What research has shown us through the town assessor's office and those photographs and everything we can find, there is no easement of record. It was never recorded at the registry of deeds.
Now, the town handled it. I signed it off to the town.
All right, you're pointing to him. Was he the superintendent at the
Yes.
time? Well, what I can say to you is, in this town, we have a number of streets that are not accepted. Quite a few are gravel in different parts of the town.
Yes.
One up near the regional high school, there's the whole bunch down on the river, so forth, so on. The town does not have an approved bylaw or anything else regarding the maintenance of unaccepted streets. However, the practice of the town has been, literally for years, superintendents beyond him, the town will do the maintenance needed on those roads to keep them open for emergency vehicles, which means the gravel roads are looked at, and if they need to be scraped or gravelled or whatever during the dry weather, that happens. In the winter, those roads must be plowed and kept open to emergency vehicles. Because there is no easement of record at the registry of deeds on this part of what you refer to as Hart Street,
Yes.
that part has not been accepted by the town. If anything, I guess the term is abandoned. We have a few other roads like that in town. In some cases, Audrey Lane, the town said, we're done. And the property owners on each side came to the middle. That's not the case with Hart Street. And it's not the case with the other locations I've cited in town. Based on what we found, with no easement recorded at the registry of deeds that would have allowed the town to do whatever Brownie or anybody else did or has done since then, this would fall into the classification of the practice that we use for all unaccepted streets, meaning Winfield Lane and the Rock Park area and all of that. Now, what it would mean is, if the town has made that a practice of just, I will call minimal maintenance, then it's not going to be paved. The work that would be done would be similar to what is done by any of those other roads that I mentioned. And that is within the purview, capacity, practice, whatever, of the highway department, Mr. Ferry. I know your son said that he kind of didn't want to deal with him, but the fact of the matter is, in cases like this is really not a stormwater issue, okay? We have, the Stormwater Committee has talked to residents of those other areas in town that I mentioned over the years, over different things, drainage being one of them. There have been no changes made to the minimal maintenance procedure policy that this town has followed in any of those areas. So to do anything different to this section of Hart Street or non-Hart Street, whatever its real classification is, it would be more than is being done for those other residents. So this is what we have found so far. If you can show us a deeded easement to the town of Dayton where the town of Dayton accepted responsibility up to and including the turnaround, that's a different issue.
So what you're saying is I can eliminate the turnaround.
Mr. Ferry,
We have a general agreement when your daughter, it's your daughter, right?
Yes,
Yeah. When
it's my it's actually on my property, the turnaround.
yes, in the process of building the house, general agreement to allow us to create that. To have some.
Yeah, well, I signed a document that was supposed to be an easement filed
I'm not aware of.
with the building inspector at the time and everybody came.
I'm not aware of the document.
But if, you know,
Was the turnaround required by the fire chief? Is the fire chief wanted the turnaround?
No.
Who wanted the turnaround?
the building inspector wanted it at the time.
Okay. The building inspector we have now, Mr. Aguirre,
I don't know who it was back then.
wasn't Joe Lawrence?
No.
Okay, must have been Jim.
And the turnaround is on actually 955 Hart Street.
on your property.
Yes.
Okay. I would just caution you from a public safety standpoint not to eliminate it, because even if, let's say there's no kids up there, so you don't have to worry about a school bus going way up and being able to make a loop to pick the kid up.
The school buses go up there and turn around now.
Okay, so I'm saying to you, you said you could eliminate it.
Who's to maintain it?
I'm advising you, first of all, let me finish. Even if there were no school buses anymore because the children are gone, for public safety purposes, an ambulance, a fire truck, or even a cruiser, to be able to go up, especially an ambulance or a fire truck, to go up and make the loop and come back to go to one of those houses is extremely important. Now, I will tell you this, there is another road in town that is paved. It's privately owned, has been private from day one. And the individual who built it, it's a long straight road, and at the end of the road, there is a very expensive home. The idea initially was on either side of the road, which really looks like a big driveway, but it's not. His children would each build a home. When he came in for a certificate of occupancy, the fire chief in office at the time said, I went down and looked at that. I'm not going to allow you. I'm not going to approve occupancy simply because if I have to send in an ambulance or a fire truck, it's going to have to go in and back up and go forward and back up. And that, from a standpoint of whether it's the ambulance or the fire truck, is not going to be allowed. So what the gentleman did was, again, in front of the big house, he actually created what I considered to be like a horseshoe drive, and he put a fountain or a garden or something in the middle. And he built it large, wide enough and at the right angles, whatever, the curvature, that when the fire chief went down, when he saw the layout, he says, if you build that, you're all set. And then he inspected it, and the gentleman got his occupancy permit and all that other stuff. That man maintained that road. It was still a private road, all right? So what I'm saying to you is what you're entitled to up there is exactly the same services that the town would provide to the other areas in this town under the minimal maintenance conditions. If it needs gravel, or if it needs to be scraped or whatever, it's going to be done to the same degree based on the opinion of the highway department superintendent, based on what he provides to the other sections of the town that have unaccepted roads that may be gravel or paved. The area down at the park actually has some paved and it has gravel. But the whole point of it was keep the roads open and passable, even though they're not town roads, because you've got to provide the services and all those people are paying taxes. So that's the situation. So Mr. Ferry, do you wish to comment on anything that I've said or contradict it, quite frankly? I'm just going by what I know about the policy.
You're both right on track for the most part. All we can provide right now is I know what they're recreating, we're grinding is compacted at this.
I've been doing that for the last 7 years.
No, I have some
Yeah,
share, it's basically all we can do at this time. When the road gets considered for road reconstruction, I don't have a year for that. Then we can reevaluate the actual easement being taken and, you know, doing all that stuff.
you know, because the road actually going through the Hot Street, through the town still owns it. I did the research on that. They were going to discontinue it, but they didn't discontinue it. They just voted to discontinue the maintenance of it. That's the terminology that's in there. The town technically still owns Hot Street going through the
So
woods.
the way they handle that is not the way they handled Audrey Lane, which I had referred to earlier. The other thing I will say to you is, Mr. Ferry mentioned reconstruction of Hot Street. If you were to look back at these meetings, you're going to find out we have talked a lot about Hot Street because of a lot of drainage issues.
Yes, but I'm familiar with all that.
Now, when Hot Street is looked at for reconstruction.
Yeah.
If you are still the property owner and you want that road brought up and the turnaround to be part of what the town accepts, an actual formal easement agreement will be drafted, just like we do if we need an easement to put a sidewalk in past somebody's front, through somebody's front yard, or we need an easement for drainage. But yeah, all easement documents are recorded at the.
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
I did go to the assessors, I'm an assessor too, but I did have the assessor's office research going back to the previous owner. Was that Hot Farm at one time?
Yes.
Owned by Joe Gomes?
Yes.
That I thought, I mean, the main old house, not the new house. But we were not able to find anything relative to the easement.
That easement would have been signed with the building inspector 7 years ago.
Okay,
It was drawn up by the town attorney. He brought the easement to me and I signed it. What they did on their part after, I have no control. But I know I signed an easement for the turnaround. Because that was my main concern after, because we actually did the work on the turnaround building it.
Mhm.
And the town gave us some grindings and I bought other grindings and put in there. But I've been maintaining it but it's, the money comes out of my pocket for it.
It's possible it never made it to the registry of deed. This is something we gotta follow on. We gotta.
But still, you remember them coming with the papers and for me to sign it. Yeah.
The hearing now, do you want us to go up there with the grindings or you don't?
No, I just want to maintain. That's what we're looking at. And like I said, when they paved the road the last time, they actually stopped 75 feet from where the road was accepted.
Right. So that would be closer to the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, right where the cul-de-sac begins is where
Right.
that was the thing.
do you have a copy of the easement you signed?
My son-in-law might have it, a copy of it and that. And
Okay, because that's important. If you could get it to
I didn't-
get it to Mr. Ferry, because what we will do for the next meeting, if you can get the easement document, whatever you signed,
Yes.
get a copy of that to Mr. Ferry. On the-
Building inspector? He should have that on file, but
Okay, so on the September agenda, because we're at 3:00 already. We will have an update on this and we will know whether or not there is an actual easement. If there is an actual easement and the town is willing to record it, it will be recorded at your expense, quite frankly. But we will let you know what's happening.
Yeah.
If it's got to be in proper format, all that other good stuff. But we'll have this on the September agenda. And in the meantime, Mr. Ferry, indicated that he's willing to do
We can work it out together.
what he can do.
Right?
Okay,
Well, if the town wanted the easement, why should it be his expense?
It wasn't at my, everything was spelled out there, it was gonna cost me nothing. The only thing I was told him I would do at the time was put it in. Because I had the contractor working there, I had him cut the circle out, and we put the ground asphalt in to give the town at the time.
if an easement is gotten by the town has the expense, including the cost of the easement. If there isn't a cost associated, in other words,
I believe I granted it for $1.
I was gonna say there's usually.
Of you too.
Yes,
It's usually a dollar amount, even if it's only $1.
yes,
So
because I wasn't concerned about the money or the thing.
if we can get a copy of the easement and have it looked at by town council, and it's a legal binding
We're gonna have to
document,
go back to you because
we will get it,
take care of it, probably.
get it recorded.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have it put on the September agenda, just so if anyone watching this saying, whatever happened to the guy on Hart Street? We can at least say, this is what we found out. And obviously, it'll be handled as any other easement would be.
All right,
Okay,
all right, thank you.
all right, thank you very much for
Yep.
coming in.
Nice seeing you, Duncan.
Thank you. Keep-
The building inspector's down, sir. You can go right down those stairs too if you
All
want.
right, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My report. I gave, Tom has the update.
Yes.
So he had the update on two items.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, thank you. Okay, and I'll get back to you on that site visit date.
Yeah, 'cause I have a set with my morning students. that agree with me.
Okay. Agenda item 5A, Brook Street Solar. There's Ahmed has joined us. Ahmed, are you there?
Yes, yes, I am.
Oh, okay, he's there. Okay. Do we have an update from Grasshopper on what's happening down at Brook Street?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm happy to report that we've completed the seeding of the site, and the site has started germinating very well, and we've had good weather that helps that. It's not dry. There's a lot of rain, which is good for us. I know it's not good for other things, but from the seeding standpoint, we've been very lucky with that. The other thing is that we've gone ahead and cleared the tree buffer for the BESS unit. And the contractor is underway to install to construct the driveway into that cleared buffer. We've installed the gate already on the fence, so the driveway and the culvert is what the contractor is working on right now. We are planning after, like we said, we'll give it another week for the site to stabilize, and then we are planning to clean up the gravel. The gravel is on top of a fabric layer in the basin. We'll clean that up. We'll dig that up. We'll clean that layer. We expect to see a lot of silt sitting on that layer. So we'll clean that up, and hopefully that will be the end of the basin drainage issue that we've had for a very long time. So that's the update that I have.
Does the committee, anyone on the committee have questions relative to Brook Street Solar?
Nope.
Anybody on the screen have any, anyone else on the Zoom have any questions of Mr. Hafez relative to Brook Street Solar? Is everything all set with, I know when we've talked about trees for a long time. So my question is, has the planning board been contacted about the tree issue? And if so, what's the status of that if they were contacted? Where are we with that?
Yeah, they will
I
contact.
believe, yeah. I believe you're talking about the shading, the trees that we need to cut for the shading. And yes, we've submitted an application to the planning board and the conservation commission. to both of them to clear the trees. The planning board has decided that it's not a minor modification and it has to go through a major modification process. So that's what we're doing, but we're planning to run that in parallel so it doesn't impact the normal path of the project. So this is like an additional thing that we need to do outside of the site. So outside of the fence, outside of the site. So we're doing that in parallel as we advance.
Mr. Perry, do you have anything, any questions or anything from Lisa relative to Brook Street Solar?
So I'm sorry, I missed your comment just now. I still have a minute. I understand that you're proposing to chop more trees than before.
Yes,
they
that's
submitted a
correct.
site
Yeah.
plan.
Yes.
Yes, so Jeff Cavallo asked me to comment on that. I thought he was just talking about the southeast corner like before. I was not aware of the number of trees that we propose now. I just found out today. I will be reviewing that and discussing that with Jeff, hopefully this week.
Is the planning
Okay, yeah.
board, Mrs. Easterday, when does the planning board meet again?
Tonight.
It's tonight? Is it 7 o'clock here?
Yeah.
Is this on the agenda? Is Brook Street Solar and trees and all that on the agenda for the planning board?
No, it's not because
Mr. Hoffaz, I still have not received any withdrawal. So your minor modification is still on the agenda for this evening.
So I'll send, I tried to call you earlier. Yeah. So
I've been in the stormwater meeting,
Yeah,
but I did request something in writing. I did request on Monday, something in writing from either you or the agenda or your engineer requesting that it be withdrawn so that you can resubmit. And as of today, I still have not received anything.
no, I will send it to you. Like it would be a waste of your time and our time if we know already it's going to be rejected. So yes, I will send the email right after this call.
Anything else from members of the committee? Mrs. Beausoleil, would you like to ask any questions or comments?
So just for Mrs. Esterday, there is a meeting then involving this tonight. Is that correct?
Correct. It's still on the agenda until I receive something in writing from the applicant withdrawing the application.
Okay. And just to bring to the point of when they were working there the last couple of weeks, again, we ran into a problem of excessive dust. And they approached us and said that they couldn't get a truck. It was ridiculous. I tried calling Mr. Aguirre, I couldn't get through. I don't know if he was on vacation. I want to know who we call when there's a problem like this.
A dust problem falls under the Board of Health.
The Board of Health.
By the same token, if you had called me, and I've told you, you can call me any time of the day or night. If I was in Dayton and got the call, I would have made some contacts and would have done something. If Mr. Ferry had been called, right?
Well, this has been multiple times that they say they just can't get a truck. And since then, they have put down gravel. I don't know if that'll take care of the issue, but they have put it down. They also are working at least one day past the hours of what they're supposed to.
Like what?
8:20. And it's supposed to be, I believe, 7 to 7.
After the fact, you're telling us this.
Yes.
I have repeatedly said, and I'm saying it again.
Call you when they're there. I didn't know they were there. They were in the back.
Well,
So they had already left. So why am I going to call you to tell you they're there
Why are
when
you
they're
telling us
leaving?
this now? Because we can't do anything.
So you can straighten it out with them. So you can tell the people there is a restrictions of when you can work.
When they violated the working hours initially, which dealt with the Porta John Company,
Mhm.
we got involved with that immediately when we were made known of it. All right.
I'm making.
One of the most
note of it.
difficult things to deal with is if there is an incident and it's not reported immediately and it's not repeated, what are we supposed to do? If it's reported immediately, I can get an email out to Ahmed any time of the day or night. I gotta tell you, quite usually he responds any time of the day or night. But I can also reach out to other town officials. If a problem of dust is so bad and they can't get water up there to dampen it, it's a health problem.
Yeah, it is.
So if somebody says, we got dust like you won't believe, and a town official goes up there and looks at it
Yes.
and says,
Well, I believe we had called in the last time when there was, when they were chipping the trees, when they were clearing the land. And we did call and said, it wasn't so bad. Deal with it.
who did you call?
My husband did.
Who was?
I don't, did he call you?
No.
No? I don't, I'd have to check with him.
Well,
But I am telling you so that you can tell them that there is a time limit that they have to.
they know there's a time limit. I'm assuming, Mr. Hafez, did you have a subcontractor doing the seeding and whatever else was being done? Mr. Hafez?
Yes, sorry about that. Yeah, I was finding
Okay.
the mute button. Yeah, there was a subcontractor working on the clearing and the seeding, yes.
If I had been notified at the time the incident was occurring, whether it's dust or chipping or anything else, number one, I would have been sending out an email quickly to Mr. Hafez and any appropriate town official, probably members of this committee at a minimum. But if it was not some unbelievable hour of the night or early morning, I would have been on the phone to Mr. Hafez because I have his cell phone number. In the case of a subcontractor, this is when we had the problem with the Porta Johns. And certainly one of us could have gone up there and said, I don't normally make site visits alone, but in an instant like that, I would have a policeman with me. And I'd say, I need to go to Brook Street. I can't go alone. Just come with me. And would have informed whoever was doing this, you got to stop this. This dust is a major problem. We can't get water up here. Well, then stop doing the work until you get the water. Get the water up here, guaranteed first, and then resume work. I didn't have the opportunity to do that. This is after the fact. You know as well as I do, the minute you reported the Porta John situation, we were on top of that, and Grasshopper responded. So again, we're willing to work with you, but telling me days after it happened, none of us can do anything. Obviously, Mr. Hafez can get in touch with the subcontractor and say there was a complaint filed by an abutter about a dust situation. And if something like that occurs again, Mr. Subcontractor, stop working until you can get water up there. But that's about all I can do for you today because it's history at this point.
I just want it recognized so that when it does happen again, you will get a phone call,
Absolutely. Any time of the day or night.
day or night.
And it's
Get it.
my home phone that you have. It rings in several rooms in the house. And there's voicemail, and I check it frequently if I'm not at the house.
Okay. It will be done.
So in this particular case, this subcontractor, just so we're clear, violated the work hours and also did not mitigate dust.
I saw them leaving at 8:20.
It did not mitigate the dust problem. Said they couldn't.
At the time when there was a dust problem,
Exactly.
they said, they actually called my husband over and he said, hey, I'm sorry. I know it's dusty, but we can't get a truck. And then I believe Mr. LaChance said, hey, we tried, we can't get a truck. Continued going. I tried calling Mr. Aguirre. didn't go through. I assumed maybe he was on vacation. Because it just sent back that it didn't go through.
You know what day of the week this was?
It was,
Did you call his cell phone or did you call his office?
I emailed.
For future reference, I would not only email, but I would call the office because there is voicemail. And when his office manager is in, she always checks that and makes sure he gets the messages if he hasn't picked them up by then. So that's another option for you.
July 27th. So I'm assuming, I was just assuming he must have been on vacation, probably had the phone on. But I'm just bringing it to your attention to let you know that.
Okay, and I have given you,
Don't you worry.
and I have given you options. And rest assured, when I get your message, whether I pick it up as voicemail or whether I pick up the phone and get it directly from you. If it's wee hours of the morning, I will email Stormwater Committee and any other appropriate town official. If it is not in the wee hours or something else, and the situation is so bad, like we can't even breathe, needless to say, that will go out. And it'll be
Okay.
calls and email.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Does anybody else from the committee have any questions, comments, or anything? Is there anything from Lisa on Brook Street?
No.
Okay, Mr. Hafez, do you have anything else?
No, thank you, everyone.
Okay, all right, we're all set. Thank you for zooming in.
Thank you.
Agenda item 5C, Blue Wave, Tremont and Middle. We were going to make a site visit. It hasn't happened yet. It's not because of any concerns about problems. It's just that we haven't been able to get it scheduled. Mr. Ferry and Mrs. Caledonia and I are planning to go, but we will get that scheduled and we will have some kind of a progress report for the September meeting. Agenda item 5D, Arujo Farms soil stockpiles and an update from the Concom. Is there anything there from Lisa?
Yeah, Rujo's wetland consultant expected to come out in August.
Oh, okay, so they're waiting for the report.
Yeah.
So this will be on the September agenda, an update on the Arujo Farms soil stockpiles. Agenda item 531 Hot Street. Do we have anything on that?
What did I miss on Blue Wave Solar while I was in?
Oh, the site visit hasn't occurred yet. So
Oh.
we got to get it scheduled.
Gotcha.
531 Hot Street.
We've been there several times when we had time available and increased that solar work like we discussed last meeting.
Okay,
I believe there's no more water going on that property from across the street.
okay,
As far as the rest of the drainage, and hearing out the other complaints, there's nothing that's really new. I think we need to look at it in the future with road reconstruction project in the future when that road gets
okay.
attention.
Does anyone have any questions about 531 Hot Street? Hearing none, this will not be on the agenda next month unless something occurs between now and the agenda that would require it to be back on here. Agents report 6A Conservation Commission updates on 508 Customs, 0 Horton Street, map 10, lot 53. Anything from Lisa on that?
Yes, you said 501?
508 Customs is the first one.
Yeah. Maybe. Be better, I'm not sure. So Concom wrote a letter. Question file, they not notice of intent. 8/16 day, nothing, they no return on the mail yet.
No, we haven't heard anything.
As of today, Concom to take action, so I guess that's the step, is to take enforcement action.
Mhm.
Well, that's where they are with that.
Okay, so This will be on the agenda for an update at the next meeting from the Concom because they meet tomorrow night and we'll know if they're taking action. 0 Horton Street, map 10, lot 53. As of August 16th, do you have anything there? I've got the letter that was sent. No, not there yet. Horton Street, map 10, lot 53.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This is wetlands violation. Do you have anything? From Lisa?
No,
Okay, she copied me and I will give this to you for the record. All right, so we can list it as a document. August 16th, a letter was sent to the owners of the property. And it says, as stated to you previously, you are required to hire a wetland scientist, surveyor, and file a restoration plan with the Conservation Commission for restoration of the site, wetland, and land within the 100-foot buffer zone by January 2nd, 2023. The restoration plan must be approved and conditioned by the commission, and no work shall start on this restoration project until approved. This was requested in an enforcement order you received dated November 28th, 2022, as well as in a wetland violation notice dated June 1st, 2023. Additionally, it was requested by you in person at public meetings. To date, you have not complied with these requests and therefore are in violation. This letter accompanies a notice of violation ticket at the rate of $300 a day from August 5th, 2023 through August 11th, 2023. And then she cites the sections of the Mass General Laws, Chapter 51, Section 40, and Section 10 of the Dayton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, which I'm not going to read. She did mention to me today that this is on the agenda for the Conservation Commission tomorrow night, and that they had received some documentation and they will act accordingly. The fines may be suspended, but again, that's a maybe. So we were copied on this just so that we're aware of what's going on. This will be on the agenda for September to have an update to see if documents submitted to the Concom take that part of the issue. 210 William Street, you have anything on that?
I have nothing on that, but if you go back to the 6A, please.
Yes.
So in the agenda, it's written on all online, there's 2 locations. So there's no comment on 501 customs, just for the.
Nothing on 508 customs?
The comments I made is for the 01.
Right.
Okay, that's, trying to read her notes just.
Because 500 Customs, I believe Outback is still working on that.
All right, so we will next month, when we do the agenda, we will list these under Concom updates, but we'll list them separately so there's no confusion. We'll have like an A and a B or nothing on 210 Williams.
No. Back to the.
Public input, all our public's gone. Correspondence, I just want to bring your attention to a letter from the conservation agent to map 7 lot 20-2 0 Oak Street. We are writing to inform you of violations on your property, map 7 lot 20-2 under the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, Dayton Conservation Commission bylaw. She goes on to explain alterations, including clearing, cutting, and filling made on your property are within regulated wetland resources. And then she goes on to talk about the town's regulations. We were copied on this. We have not been in touch with the property owners yet because this was a courtesy copy. After I get more information and know whether or not there is a stormwater issue too, it may appear on a future agenda, but at this point in time, this is only correspondence coming in and we'll just have it on file. And we will ask Mrs. Caledonia to give us an update at the next meeting. And does anyone have anything else under correspondence? Yes.
Could I just ask the address of that?
Not publicly, because we haven't contacted them,
Oh,
but you can cite it by map and lot number. And you can say, well, what we, if we don't contact the people ahead of time, it would be 0 Oak Street. Okay. But anyhow, you'll have that. Approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes for the last meeting? And thank you very much. Heather, we are up to date. Any comments, questions, or anything? If not, a motion to approve?
Approval with Mr. Crowley's.
No, I'm asking the committee to approve the minutes as they were presented to them. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. When he gives us something in writing, indicate what he would like put into the minutes. That will be a separate agenda item. And the committee will vote whether or not to amend the minutes to include some, all, or none of what he is going to give us. And the reason I'm asking for that is because this is a public record. It's a historical document. And if there are things, if, for example, if we found an error in minutes from 3 months ago and we brought up and said, oh yeah, that's wrong, we could actually vote to do that, put it in the new minutes, but also cross-reference it back to the minutes when the error was officially reported. So that's what we're going to do. And so for next month's meeting, September, when we would be acting on minutes for August 16th, there's going to be 2 items. One is to accept the minutes of August 16th. And the other one would be to act on a request to amend the July minutes. Probably if I get the amendment from him in time, that'll come up before we actually vote on the minutes. So in the minutes, we'll have an A and a B. If I don't have it in writing, we're only going to act on the minutes that we actually have from the meeting. Okay. So, and the other thing too is we do not do verbatim minutes. And to, after the fact, put stuff into the minutes when they concern another party to this, whatever he's going to propose. I have a real serious question about the rights of the other party, which in this case would be Clearway. So needless to say, I hope if he's going to send it, I get it soon so that I can get an opinion on how to handle it. Because even if we accept it, if it's a lot of verbatim stuff, personally, I'm going to say no. Factual stuff, yes. So again, we'll just see how it all plays out and what we can do. And I believe what would have to happen if in fact there is material that I am told we can act on as an amendment. I'm going to send that out ahead of time to the other party because again, if official minutes get amended and everybody thought, well, these are the minutes, and then a month or so later, something comes out that is not or contradicts something, we're not going to get in the middle of, well, you shouldn't have done that because somebody else's rights were stepped on. So by then I'll have an answer on how to handle anything that comes in and ask that it be reviewed just so that we act appropriately. Okay. Any other questions, discussion on the minutes? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain. We have 3 for and 1 abstention.
I wasn't here.
Oh, that doesn't mean anything. You can vote. You can vote to accept the minutes.
Well, no, I won't because.
No, I'm just
said,
no, I'm just saying legally.
right. I still abstain.
No, I'm just saying legally, yes, it can. For example, the Board of Selectmen that met in April of, met in March of this year, then they have an election. If there are minutes for March that are open, the whole entire new board can vote that. So anyhow,
I'm still abstaining.
Okay, so the, I don't know if these minutes are approved because we currently are a 6-member committee. We have a vote of 3 and we have an abstention. I believe under the public records law, we need a minimum of 4 votes of approval to accept the minutes. So just put down, record the vote. And I will have to get this clarified. If it were a tie, I could, and as the chairman, then
You can't step down?
I could vote to break the tie, but it's not a tie. And if I step down now, you still haven't got it because it's a 2-to-1 vote. So I got to get clarification on this. I don't believe these minutes have been approved, which means the record's going to indicate, and I'll give you the definite answer, but I believe the motion, the second to approve the minutes of July, 19th, whatever it was. The vote was, it's not going to say unanimously approved on a roll call vote. It's actually going to show the roll call vote. So it will be aye, and it will Mr. Phillips, Mr. Ferry, and I, and no, none, abstention, Mr. Woods. Okay? Because I think we're going to have to bring these back. But don't worry about that. I'll have the answer for you, just so that you know now. Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ferry, you want to adjourn?
I wasn't abstaining from that.
Mr. Ferry? Okay, so we are adjourned.
Nancy, thank you for the book.
Oh, I looked